I find that the human condition is similar, either having issues in Motel 6 or the Hyatt or the Four Seasons or in your private bungalow. The human experience, it's the same.
How do you build a network, run a profitable business, and make an impact? Oh, and have a personal life at the same time? That's the question, and this podcast is the answer. I'm your host, Chaz Wilson, husband, father of 5, author of the book 5+1, president and co-founder of Master Networks Inc., a national networking organization. Look, each week I bring you successful entrepreneurs who will share success strategies of how to effectively build a network, add valuable wisdom to your journey, and help you succeed. Welcome to Connect, Share, and Prosper. Everybody, welcome to Connect, Share, Prosper. I'm your host, Chaz Wilson. Today, you are in for a treat. I am super excited today. We have this gentleman here, Dan Nitro Clark. Let me just share with you a few of his accomplishments, and then we're going to jump right in. He is a father. He lives in Southern California. He enjoys things like sports, yoga, acting, writing, martial arts. He's played football for San Jose State, the LA Rams, and in the Professional European League. Starred in the original American Gladiators and co-produced the 2008 revival of American Gladiators. He's the author of his memoir, Gladiator, A True Story of Roids, Rage, and Redemption. He's got a TEDx talk called The Art of Living a Happy Life, which I definitely want to dive into that as well. And he's been featured on Good Morning America, The Early Show, Access Hollywood, Entertainment Tonight, ESPN, Extra, People, Time Magazine, and many others. Please welcome to Connect, Share, Prosper, Dan Nitro Clark. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Chaz, I'm pumped up. I'm excited to be here, and I've got so many things I'm excited to share with your audience. But the first thing I want everybody to know is I don't have spandex on anymore. So I've learned in 35 years of wearing spandex that spandex is a privilege, not a right. And my privilege card was pulled. Done.
Yes.
Yeah, when I got the ARP card, the AARP card, they pulled my spandex card.
When you got the AARP card they pulled. I love it.
It was like a trade. The guy knocked on my door and said, "Here's your AARP card. Give back your spandex card." I lost that privilege.
Yeah, what a great series that was too. And was that really the big thing for you that got you out there and got known? I mean, you played football and the Rams, you played for the Rams and so forth, but man, American Gladiators, what a cool thing that was. I remember it well, loved watching that show. How did that come about? How did you get involved in American Gladiators?
So it was 30 years ago this week that it aired. Can you believe that time has gone by?
Wow.
And I'm, so grateful for the legacy for that thing. I feel like I'm the Captain Kirk of that generation. Captain Kirk, Spock, how Star Trek was such a phenomenon, and it's become such a part of pop culture. And the interesting thing about fame is when it first hits you, it just goes to your ego. You think it's you. And the same thing with success, right, Chaz? You get success, it must be me. You don't think about the team. And when I was younger, I didn't think about longevity. I was so interested in what can I get? Give me. I was always chasing gratification, but didn't understand gratitude. And what I've learned through the last 40 years is that your happiness and your ability to prosper are connected to connections, tribe, and gratitude.
So, well, now you just took me down a path I wasn't planning right away, but I'm going to jump there because I love this. So how is happiness connected to the tribe? Because that's what we're all about, is building our tribe and our connections and our network. So I rarely hear anyone talk about happiness and the tribe being connected. So tell me about that.
It's happiness and fulfillment. So whatever your definition of happiness or success is, what I think is a basic need of human beings is the idea that we are connected. If we go back to primate days or whatever your belief is, to our tribal days, we were all part of the tribe. The tribe all contributed to raising kids. This is the first generation, not our generation, but the first couple centuries where we've actually been single dwellers. We've been these nuclear families behind doors where we're locked in, and we were told this is the way to be happy. You get your home, get your white picket fence, you keep people out. And by us keeping people out, look what we've done. The suicide rate is skyrocketing, anxiety is skyrocketing, depression is skyrocketing. Why? The base to this is because we lack connection. We lack tribes. I find that people I coach that I work with that have a strong tribe or even a support and accountability group, they thrive, they do better. We need each other, right? In the old days,
Yeah.
the biggest fear was you get exiled from the tribe. And you look at the wolves now, you know, the wolves, a wolf, someone gets boom, kicked out of the tribe, they die. And there's that internal fear inside of us. Your strength, your happiness is definitely connected to your tribe. It's rooted deep inside of us.
And would you say it's not just the tribe, but it's the quality of the tribe?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Your tribe is your vibe. I
Yeah.
believe, like a lot of people I've studied and worked with, I've dedicated my life to personal growth. Since I was 14 years old, when I was going nowhere fast, when I was getting kicked out of school, that's when I read my first personal development book, Psycho-Cybernetic by Maxwell Maltz. And I 100% think they're definitely connected. Sometimes I talk so much, Chaz, I forgot what you even asked me.
That's okay. No, I'm enthralled by this. So primarily because you're speaking our language of, you know, in this world of business right now, there's so much technology. I mean, here we are, we're connecting through technology, but and the social media, and there's a value to that. You can build a tribe that way as well. But there's this human connection that I believe is a skill to learn, that especially young people right now, those who have this skill that they can connect and shake hands and look people in the eye and get to know and talk, sets them apart so quickly. So would you say that there's a skill to connecting? And if so, how do you do it?
There's definitely a skill to connecting. And first of all, I think it's taking the focus off self and what you can get and go instead to what you can give. Right. So if you take off the focus of yourself and say like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. What's this person going to think of me? Or what? And you take it on a simple action with the other person. You know what my intention is? My intention is to connect with this person and lift them up. The Dalai Lama has this great quote, and I'm going to paraphrase. He says, in every human interaction, we have the choice either to lift somebody up or not. And when you go through your daily life and you look at each human interaction as that choice to lift somebody up, to smile, to encourage, to make them feel better, that choice takes the focus off you, Chaz, and it reverberates and it creates a ripple of happiness. That's a lot, right?
No, but it's so true. And it seems to be missing. It seems to be something that um, it seems so basic. Like the things we're talking about should feel very basic and foundational, but they seem to have gotten lost. Like I look at
we chase likes, Chaz. We chase likes. We don't chase smiles. You know, part of a chapter in my last book, F Dying, was, you know, go chase smiles. Don't chase likes. And to chase a smile, that's a human interaction, right? I mean,
yeah.
you've read all the studies with the babies who weren't loved and who cared for, with the chimpanzees that weren't loved and touched and cared for. They die, they disease, there's premature death. And loneliness is one of the biggest epidemics in the baby boomers. People are isolating. They're too afraid to get out there. Again, it all goes back to the fundamental thing where we've built these walls to keep us safe, to separate us, but it's slowly killing us.
Yeah, I read something, I can't remember the study, and I've shared it before on this podcast, that there was a study I read that said that particularly men, once they hit 40 years old, have made all the friends they'll ever make. Statistically, they don't make new friends typically. And I think, man, that's sad. Talk about loneliness. How do you not make new friends all the time? I guess that's just because I do that, but I wonder why that
There's
is. I've
just
often said,
well, you know, Chad, sorry to interrupt you, but that's just something I've been very lucky with. When I was a young man, my dad said, the president of the United States and the janitor are the same. They're both people. So I'm
yeah,
always open to shaking hands and connecting. And, you know, luckily in my career, I've met 3 presidents in one night. And I've met 3 janitors in one night. So, I mean, and I've just learned to treat people as people, because when I work with some very successful people, from stars that I've known and worked with to celebrities to billionaires, I find that the human condition is similar. Either you're having issues in Motel 6 or the Hyatt or the Four Seasons or in your private bungalow. The human experience, it's the same. It's just different trappings and different surroundings.
So, guys, we're listening to Dan Nitro Clark. I want to come back to this, but I'm going to jump backwards first. I'm going to go back. I would love to hear, first of all, in American Gladiators, I want to just, because I know our audience is asking about this already. So American Gladiators, did you get to pick your own name? Did Nitro, was that something you picked, or was that something they picked for you, and how did that come about?
Uh, well, funny story was in the very beginning of the pilot, there were three names, and we had to go on camera. So it was a park. It wasn't in Universal Studios. It was at a little park on the side of the street where they had tryouts. And part of the tryout, besides the athletic endeavors, was picking a character that they had on a sheet and getting interviewed in character. So they had Gemini, back and forth person. They had Malibu, who loved the waves. And then they had Evander, and he was supposed to be volatile and all this and that. So once I got the job, I said, the name does not match. It doesn't work. What's something explosive? How about Nitro? So I came up with the name Nitro because I thought it was loud, explosive, TNT.
Love it.
And I'm really not. I'm really a thinker.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very friendly, and I'm kind of pensive. Yeah, I'm not really explosive. I don't have a temper. My dad had a temper, and it scared the crap out of me, so I don't have a temper.
So would you say you're a super competitive person? I mean, from the physical side, it would seem to be, but in talking with you, you seem very calm and collected. As you said, a thinker, which is interesting because, you have this vision of you in this competitive sport, and then sort of this dichotomy, this opposite is sort of how you come across. Is that kind of how you've always been, or are they kind of one and the same?
You can be extremely competitive, and this is for people to understand. You can be the most competitive person and still good, nice person. I think a lot of times ultra competitive people get put into on a label that they're jerks, that they're arrogant. When I was younger, I was arrogant. I think that was just part of the bravado of youth. But I'm extremely competitive, but not to the point where you need to fail and I need to succeed. I'm competitive to the point where I want to win, but I've believed that there's also enough for everybody else to win. And as I start to age, I've learned that mentorship makes me feel as good, if not better, than achieving something myself. That's how I got into coaching. I got into coaching because I was helping so many people, and I'm like, wow, this feels so good. This feels so good. And I get as much joy if I can help someone conquer and crush and really succeed as if I succeed myself.
So what areas do you focus on when you're coaching? What kind of coaching are you offering people right now?
Transformation, wherever you're stuck, whether it's business, personal, health, diet. I think there is an underlying reason why you do not have the results in your life. My job is to go pinpoint that, to get the anxiety, to get the doubt, to get the fear out of the way so you can take action and fully show up. And even for extremely successful people like a neurosurgeon, 100% career is crushing it, making 7 figures a year. But there's a lack of happiness, there's a lack of meaning, there's a lack of purpose, and there's a lack of love in the life. So what I do is I believe that there's 5 pillars that each person has in order to be happy. So if you're short in one pillar, okay, connection, love, health, whatever you're short in, I go and I get out my little Nitro toolbox that I've acquired over the last 40 years. I open that toolbox and I give you to help you transform. Because everyone deserves to have success, what that means. I believe we all are put here to succeed, and everyone deserves it. But a lot of times I think the biggest enemy is ourselves. We get in our own way. And when we're younger, when we're in high school, when we're in college, we have people saying, get up, go, come to class. Then all of a sudden, there's nobody telling you what to do. And you realize it's 100% your responsibility. And so many people aren't up to motivating and inspiring themselves. They're waiting to be motivated. They're waiting to be inspired. And that motivation is such a fickle mistress where we cannot rely upon it. What you have to rely upon are set tools. So I give it, here's the tools. Boom, succeed.
Awesome. What are the 5 pillars?
You're going to ask me that. I knew you were going to ask me that. I saw you writing it down. And I'm like, do I know 5 pillars off the top of my head? I'm like, gosh, what are they? Because sometimes when you get on camera, you're like, So love connection, love and connection, health, meaning, purpose, fulfillment.
Love it.
Those are the four out of the five.
Meaning, that's one I have not heard of. I mean, I've heard of obviously health and purpose and fulfillment, but give me context around meaning as a pillar.
So meaning is, I group that with purpose. So meaning, purpose, that you are walking it towards what your mission is. And I think a lot of people get stuck because they feel like, 'cause I don't like the word purpose, because purpose has a romantic connotation to it. Like, oh, if I knew what my purpose was, I would wake up on fire. I would know what I'm doing. I would never not feel like doing it. Again, I've worked with some amazing people, and everybody I know has so many days where they grind, where they've got to grind. And the number one key to success, which I think we're not told this, the number one key to success is being able to get yourself to take action when you don't want to, when you don't feel like it, and when you're afraid. Because again, we fall, Chaz, into that thing, right? We're like, God, if this was my purpose, I would be great. So what meaning is what gives your life focus, what energizes you, what is your why, your reason for getting up. And I believe people are happiest, us as human beings. I believe we're happiest when we have one foot firmly grounded in the present, and then one foot moving forward towards possibility.
So
don't ask me really hard questions. Don't ask me really hard questions. Don't ask me really hard. And don't make me cry. Don't make me cry. You're not Oprah.
No. I rarely make people cry on this show. No, did you find that when you left American Gladiators did you have to like sort of reinvent who you were, that meaning, that purpose, everything we were just talking about, to something new? Because I find some people have these phases of career. I've had people on the show who've been really successful at something, then moved to something else, and they've talked about, for some, they had this sort of identity crisis for a while, and then others had they moved really quickly into reinvention. What was it like for you when you left American Gladiators? I think that's probably where most people knew you the most. And so how did you reinvent? How did you move from that?
I think the key to reinvention is to start the process before you need it. The worst time to reinvent is when you're out of a job, when your business is 100% bankrupt and you don't have a future. I started to plant seeds for myself when I was doing American Gladiators. I knew that I wanted to run. I had stories to tell inside of me. So I went into writing, but it wasn't like I woke up and sold a script to the studios for, six figures, which I did eventually a few times. But you didn't see while I was on American Gladiators, a guy who couldn't type in high school because of that archaic idea that, when I get older, I'll have a secretary who will take diction. Back in the 80s, that was my idea. I'm not taking typing. So all of a sudden I'm doing American Gladiators. I'm like, oh gosh, I need to learn to type. I need a new skill because I want to tell stories, and you write on computers. So 6 weeks I got on a typewriter, bang, bang, bang. Repetition is the mother of skill, right? A Tony Robbins quote. And I went over and over again. Then I went and read 10 books on screenwriting. Then I went to all the seminars. So I was preparing for my next stage and planting seeds the entire time while I was doing American Gladiators. So I thought that's what I wanted to do. And I dove into it. I made money. I sold scripts. I've written a couple of books. And I realized, at least on the screenwriting side, I said, you know what? I've got like 12 years invested in this. I've made money. It's a career, but this isn't what I thought it was. This doesn't energize me. I'm a person. I'm a people person. I like to connect. I like people. I like motivating. I like inspiring. And when you're in the screenwriting world in Hollywood, you are like, believe it or not, like one of the low people on the totem pole. Everybody gives you notes, the assistants, the secretaries, the housekeeper, they're all giving you notes on your scripts. And I wanted to be more forward. So I had to start to reinvent then again. And I said, well, I love speaking. Okay. So how do you become a good speaker? Boom, study. I wanted to get into entrepreneurism. So about 12 years ago, I started a business. And within the first year I was doing 7 figures. And that was an obstacle race adventure called the Gladiator Rock and Run. And again, no experience, didn't know how to put on events, didn't know how to put on races. The next thing I know, I'm renting the Rose Bowl 77,000 seats. I'm renting it out and I'm putting it on an event, serving beer, having bands within a year.
But no
Crazy.
spandex.
No, only for very high bidders.
Right. That's so good.
So
So
I
what
think one of the best skills. Go ahead.
Nope.
I think one of the most important skills in this world that is changing so fast is the ability to be resilient. You have to be resilient. The key skill is going to be able to adapt to change, right? Because now you have the Uber drivers. People who have other jobs, now they're Uber drivers. In 10 years, we're going to have the self-driving cars. 3 million people will be out of work. It's going to continue to change like this. And I think that's the biggest thing, is to be able to adapt to change and to be resilient. And it's not, and it's Chaz, it's not only being resilient with your career, it's being resilient as a human being. 5 years ago, I had a heart attack, and I faced my mortality. I almost died. And everything I thought about myself as far as who I was as a personal identity, I'm the strong guy, I'm a former professional football player, I'm an athlete, I'm a fitness expert. Those were the core parts of my identity. And that was taken from me, like in a heartbeat. So there's resilience, because if you're alive today, and I'm sure every single person listening to this has had some kind of setback. Yes. But not everybody who's had that setback has the ability to make the comeback. But I believe for every setback, there is a chance to come back and rise. But what are those tools? What are those steps?
So, wow, there was a lot there. So you have this heart attack.
I told you I can talk, bro.
No, that's good.
I told you I can talk, bro. I can talk.
I get stuck. I forget I'm doing an interview. Like I'm like so enthralled with what you're saying. I love this. So 5 years ago, you have this heart attack, and you said, like this moment where your identity was one thing, and then it's pulled from you. And again, then you're resilient and you sort of have to reinvent again. What's the big lesson that you learned in that moment that we could all take from that to say, look, this was this moment I had, and here's what I took away from it?
Well, for me, I realized that a broken heart didn't mean a broken man.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So a broken heart physically, broken heart emotionally, changing identity didn't mean I was a broken man. That was the key thing. But to share with you humbly how hard it was for me, I remember after the hospital heart attack, when I was laying in the hospital the next day, and at my low point, I fell into a depression. And I remember saying, if I cannot live my life on my own terms, then I just want to die. I just said, I want to die. And I'm a guy who's a learned optimist, and that was a big, big, heavy thing. But lying there in the hospital, I just said, I promised myself, I wasn't going to cry and I wasn't going to feel sorry for myself. I said, no matter what, I'm not going to be a grown man crying and feeling sorry for himself. And then I learned something really interesting about grief. Sometimes the grief we feel is larger than our ability to hold it. And so I remember lying in the hospital, just weeping and crying, tough guy. And feeling sorry for myself. And I kept asking myself, kept saying, why me? Why me? Why me? Why did this happen to me? I did everything right. I trained, I worked out, I ate all the right supplements. I did everything right. Why did this happen to me? And if you're listening right now and something like that has happened to you, where you felt like you've done everything right, where life is unfair, you're broken down right now, business, emotionally, marriage, relationship, quit asking the question, why me? And instead here's what I did. I started to ask myself, what can I be? Instead of why me? What can I be given my circumstances? And then when I changed the question as that I asked myself, I got different answers. And that's one of my fundamental beliefs, that the experience of life is based upon the questions we ask ourselves. And I started to ask, what can I be? And then answers came forward because my brain was focused. I said, you know what? I can be an example of how to back from a heart attack. I could be an example how to take a setback and make a comeback. Or maybe in the best case scenario, I can take a personal hardship, tragedy, whatever you want to call it, turn it into a gift of inspiration for others. And then I said, there are three things that I want to focus on right now in my life. I said, I cannot focus right now on what happened to me. I can't choose that. I can focus on how I want to be, how I'm going to walk this path. And made the decision right then. I said, I'm going to move forward with grace, dignity, positivity. So I'm going to, if I'm never able to exercise, then I'm this graceful, dignified, positive person. If I'm going to go and, you know, I need a heart transplant, then I'm going to be the most graceful, dignified, positive person. So I think a lot in personal development, a lot of people get wrong is that they think of actions they need to take first, but they don't think about building the pillar and their base first. So start with that. Start with how do you want to be, and use my words. You know what? I'm company is imploding, but I'm going to handle this with grace, dignity, and positivity. So you know how you're going to be. And then once you know how you're going to be, then you can go in and start to say, okay, what's the next action step that I can take, that I can do, that I control? And then I just go out and I try to win a little block of time. Does that make sense?
Oh, it so makes sense. So what I love about it is one of the things my COO and our team did last year, a year and a half ago, is we created some really got clear about our core values. And one of the things we talked about was the first thing is, who do we want to be? That was the very first thing we said. Is so some people say, well, if I do this, then I'll be this. And we said, no, let's be this first, and then we'll do this and have what we want. So we did the be, do, have. And so our whole core values around who we want to be and what we want to be and how we want to. And I think what you're saying, this is what I really gathered from this whole conversation, which is really high level.
And tell me what that is, Chaz. Who do you guys want to be? So I understand you guys better. Tell me who you guys want to be.
We want to be hardworking, right? Be honest, be committed, right? And then what happens is then we will do the right thing, right? So we list all of these out, and then it's sort of, we have fun, we have success, and then we sort of list out these haves. But what I gather from you, and this is really important, listen, for everyone listening to this is really important, is no matter what happens in life, how you react, how you act, how you're resilient, how you focus and what you want to be is what makes you attractive in a way that attracts the right tribe. That's where we started. And I think what I really admire about your story and what you're saying is it's how you chose, and you made a choice. It sounds like you were very conscious and awareness to your choice of who you wanted to be. And that's probably what has attracted things to your life, your tribe, etc., that helps you create and have happiness. True?
Oh, absolutely. You know, I wake up in the morning and the number one question I ask myself, you know, it's part of my morning routine, is how do I make an impact today? How do I make an impact today? How many people can I impact today? And that's one of my coaches, Hank, who you know as well. Hank Norman's like, you know, people, can you make an impact? You know, how many people? Don't stop at one, stop at two. And that is the driving force behind everything I do. And it's also for me a tool that I use, you know, when I'm aligned with what energizes me.
Yes.
It's a tool that I use to use as motivation. You know, when I don't want to feel like doing something, I want to do it. I'm scared or I'm lazy. You know, I hear that voice of resistance. I just say, okay, will this impact people? And then if it is, I push myself forward in spite of that. And I think that's been the huge difference in being very, very clear on what mission is for me, my why, so to speak.
So my team that's listening, we need to circle back with Dan, because I'm writing a book called Impact right now. And so I need to circle back with you, and I need some of your thoughts to add to that book if you're willing to, because you just said very much what our focus of that book is. So, and I want to honor your time because we shared with you a certain amount of time. Guys, I'm going to look here really quick for, what was your favorite event on American Gladiators?
Oh God, mine was the party afterwards. I'm being honest. No, not the party afterwards. Look, they were all fun, and to give you an honest answer, they all had different challenges, and I prided myself on being a well-rounded athlete. But the real fun in American Gladiators after competing was going on the Tonight Show, was going on Good Morning America, was traveling the country. It was doing the live show. It was selling out Madison Square Garden. Those were the things, you know, that were the fondest memories. But there's also a trap there for anybody who, especially the younger generation, who wants to be famous. You know, don't mistake admiration for love and for meaning, right? Because that's what I did for a long, long time. I chased adoration because I thought it was love. That's how I knew how to get love and feel good about myself. Then about 30 years old, I had to lift up the hood and say, wait a second, I've got everything I want, but I have everything yet it feels like nothing. Then I had to start to do the deep, scary work of why that is. And I think that was another key moment on, how to build and connect, share, prosper.
Yeah, I love that. How does our tribe find you? How do they connect with you? Where can they find you?
So yes, a couple things. I do a Facebook live show Tuesday through Friday at Dan Nitro Clark on Facebook. That Facebook live show is 5 to 7 minute videos where I share tips in the Nitro toolbox to help you solve anything that's going on in your life. You can also find me on Instagram at Dan Nitro Clark again, and they can go to my website at dannitroclark.net, dannitroclark.net. If you want to work with me, you can also go there, and there's a button that says reach out to Dan. Right now, what I'm doing, giving away free hour